This week's scenario is the Pit 2 from the Steamroller packet. This scenario does have the Killbox Artifice in effect, and consists of one circular zone which can be controlled by warrior units, warcasters, and warlocks, two rectangular zones which can be controlled by warjacks, warbeasts, battle engines, warcasters, and warlocks, and then objectives which can be destroyed for 1 CP. Victory conditions consist of earning 5 more control points than your opponent, or caster assassination.
Alright everybody, Polar Bear Cub here. So as you can see, we're playing some Crucible Guard on the table. Yes, I am super excited. So deployment's going to be pretty basic. I'm putting all my models up. Really what I want to talk about is kind of my list. I'm playing with Locke. I love her a lot. I really like her with the Vulcan. Really the goal with this list is to just kind of run forward, engage the army as soon as possible, and try to just destroy as much as humanly possible. With Marc, I think I can really get a lot of good range shots in. I'm going to try to fight his army and eventually try to make it for a caster assassination if I can.
So with my list today, I decided to go with the Dreamer. I have Dreamer 2 skins, 2 Cage Ragers, 2 Rattlers, Frightmare, Crabbit, 4 Gremlin Swarms, the Rose, Glimmer Imp, and the Dread Rots. Unfortunately, I did forget to bring my battle engine, so I had to change my list at the last second. Hopefully it won't go too bad.
Alright, so getting the models on the table. So really I'm going to start out just by getting Marc out there first. I'm getting out because I want to just, first I activated the ability for her to give Locke the ability to have 1 less cost for focus. And that's just so I can get all my upkeeps out and still have some focus on me. So Locke drops all of her upkeeps. I put out Sentry on the Vindicator. She's putting Road to War out on herself. And then I am going to be putting out Redline onto a, I believe I put it out on the Vulcan. So it's really just kind of just set up the army. Next, Combat Alchemists are going to walk up. And really what that unit's going to be doing is just starting to get a baseline just so I can start smoking out all my models. Vulcan, he ran because he has Redline. He has a speed of 8. So he ran forward and suffered only 1 point of damage. So he's 16 inches up the board. That is absolutely amazing. Really everything on the other side is going to be running. And again, the whole setup for this is I just need to engage his army as soon as possible. He has a lot of things that could really, really hurt me in the long run. He has models that can only be affected by spells, which is really good because I have a lot of combat alchemists, and I have a good amount of models that can get through incorporeal and stuff like that. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turn went. Just kind of running everything up. Probably could have kept Vulcan back just a little bit, but in that, I'm happy.
So with Polar Bear Cub having +2 to his deployment, it's a little scary having your opponent already halfway across the board and you have not yet to activate. I decided to send the 2 of the swarms in to hopefully lower either his rat speed, anything against the Vulcan, because I know Colossals are big scary creatures. I'm trying to see if I can start shooting some of the Alchemists off with my little scary acid boy. It wasn't until I believe we were going through the damage rolls that we realized that they are immune to acid. So that ends up not working out at all. Now realizing that half his army is immune to all elements that I own currently. You can't really see it too well, but one of the Gremlin Swarms did run to the bottom corner of the zone to contest it. Since he has a lot of guns in front of me, he will most likely be able to shoot it off. So hiding in the corner is usually what these Glimmer Imps are, what these Gremlin Swarms tend to do in most of my games. I'm not too used to running Dread Rots. Not a lot of my lists have them, but I do know that they do perform pretty well with some extra damaging buffs. Hopefully they can get up to the front and kill at least a Warjack or two in later turns. After I cast Mirage on the Dreadrots, decided to go with Artifice of Devastation to kind of protect my Moans. While moving the Moans, I realized that I should have probably moved the Cage Rager a little further to my right to kind of act as a meat shield, so my Moans would be able to move closer and charge in on the next turn.
Hey everybody. Alright, so turn 2. Alright, so a couple things. First off is I have my Sentry Shot. Before I talk about the Sentry Shot, because I'm trying to figure out kind of where I want to hit, he did have a Gremlin Swarm move up to the Vulcan, and that definitely worries me a little bit, because with a Gremlin Swarm up to the Vulcan, that could potentially be really bad for me, right? That's a lot of things that could suck. So I'm going to need to remove that. Luckily, I have a ton of magic. So, Vindicator, he has Sentry Shot, so he's going to shoot. And at first, I was looking at possibly trying to shoot his War Beast, but I didn't like that there was the cloud there. I didn't think I'd be able to really do anything with it. So I decided instead to go and attack the Hollowman. I did accidentally move his model. And one thing you'll see is I moved his model there. We had moved it back, or we had talked about it, so it wasn't an issue because I moved them further away. But when I'm using the Vindicator shot, I honestly thought that his models were undead. Fun fact, Hollowmen are not dead. And because they are not dead, that means that they cannot, they do not get additional dice of damage to them whenever you use one of the Vindicator shots. So, right now we're just kind of lining up a Sentry Shot. This is taking a little bit longer than it should have. It's really just because we're going back and forth, kind of figuring out what we were going to do and what models. So I am going through right now and just kind of, he's just removing a couple models from the, just from the floor, just so we can get this started. Then afterwards, kind of what I do next is I'm going to activate. Well, first I'm going to hand out one focus point to everybody, and then I'm going to kind of look at what I want to do next. I do know he has 3 Arcana out there. He's probably going to activate one this turn, but it's going to be something that I just need to know that's going to happen. So that little AoE marker out there, it's because I want to, the one that's right next to the Nova flag, it's because I'm going to eventually use the Combat Alchemists to try to remove that model. And I need to get it done. It's a model that's in the way, right? And I've got to get rid of it. Unfortunately, it's a model that has to go. Yeah, so if I can do that, the Vulcan is really, really exciting. He's going to be a lot of fun to be able to go and destroy most things, because I need that Vulcan to kill his War Beast and to go kill some of his other models. So Marc had activated. Marc had moved up. Marc had casted Eyeless Sight onto the Vindicator. Honestly, something had attacked here to be able to trigger the Ruin. I cannot remember what it had activated. I don't know what it triggered it, but I know it was something. I'm really sorry. I'm looking at the table. I can't see. But either way, the ability was activated. So now any model that attacks, if I kill a model, that model gets knocked down. So the Combat Alchemists are activating. They're moving up. And they're going to remove that Grymkin model, the Gremlin Swarm. Does it pretty easily. So with that being said, now that that's removed, now the Vulcan is going to be great to be able to go activate, going to be able to do things, going to be able to hopefully kill lots and lots of things. So right here, I'm kind of just figuring out, do I want the Vulcan to move over that way, or where do I want him to go to really do max amount of damage? That's really because Vulcan only has one focus point on him. I forgot to put more focus, but luckily Locke is there. Locke can cast Jackhammer multiple times. So next I'm kind of just lining out what I want to do. couple of good options is I have the other unit combat alchemist. I want to utilize the ability to stationary models as much as possible. And I want to do that because I need to try to force him to either spend more fury or to not allow a model to activate. So kind of what I'm doing here is I am moving up the combat alchemists, and they are going to start throwing ice bombs at the Skin and Moans. Now, if I'm really lucky, it's actually going to deviate, and it's going to hit both the Skin and Moans and that Cage Rager that's behind the wall. If I can stationary both of them, I will be extremely happy. But I need to make sure that I stationary at least one of them. If I can at least get the Skin and Moans stationary, it might not be a big thing, but it's going to force him to where that's one less attack he can do, because it's going to make it so he actually has to, make a choice. Which obviously he's going to spend the Fury to get rid of it, but I'm forcing him to spend the Fury. So as you can see, I got 2 onto the Cage Rager and 3 onto the Skin and Moans. Skin and Moans is now, he is now stationary. All right. Next thing I'm trying to figure out is I have a couple of Dragon Rocket Breaths. I have the Toros. Toros I really don't want to do too much with, so one Toro is just going to walk up. He's going to stay behind that wall. Next thing is I have the other Toro. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him yet, but I do have a Suppressor as well. And that Suppressor, I really want to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with him. That being said, Vulcan is Vindicator had removed a couple more models, and he got knocked down. Dragon Breath Rocket, I'm going to shoot the Dragon Breath Rocket onto that one Hollow Man that I'm pointing at. With me being able to shoot that Hollow Man, that's going to put out a -2 armor to a couple other models, mainly on the Cage Rager, and also that War Beast that's behind the wall. And that'll just allow me to hopefully be able to remove the Cage Rager. He's definitely a main target that I want to get rid of. I'm going to be sending that Vulcan in to do that. So Suppressor had... So Dragon Breath Rocket had successfully went and did all that, and now that Dragon Breath Rocket unit is knocked down as well. Well, the model is the main gun. So right now what we're talking about is, hey, what the stats are on the Cage Rager, what's his defense, all that stuff, because I want to see who I need to potentially hit. So I'm laying out another AOE, not AOE. That's the base size of the Vulcan, and I'm looking to make sure that I'm far enough away so I do not get countercharged by that other Rager. I believe that's what it's called, the Rager. There's 2 of them. There's one directly behind the building, and there's that one over there. So next I want to do is the one that's behind the building. He's pretty high defense. Vulcan, whenever he's within 8 inches of Prospero, he is going to be a 6. So Prospero walked up, he moved really close, so he could be within he'd be a 7. He's a 7/7, pretty close to him. So now what I'm doing is I'm just setting up for the Suppressor to be able to move up, so he's out of the way of the Vulcan, and he can still do some of his sprays. So that'll be a kind of big thing, because if I can, I'm not going to stationary that other model, but if I can -4 to the defense, it's going to be pretty successful. It's going to make me pretty happy. Sorry, a little bit of dead time here. As I'm kind of just rolling dice now. Luckily, Suppressor hits with both of them. I did boost both the attacks so I can make sure I hit. And now the Vulcan's going to walk up. Vulcan's going to be targeting the models. Definitely need to try to remove that Cage Rager. I really want to remove that other model as well. And that's kind of what a lot of my focus is going to be on this. So I'm going to be swinging at him. He's only defense 10. I need a 3 to hit, which is not hard at all to do. Definitely going to be able to, I should definitely be able to hit him. And then with him being higher power plus strength because of red line, it's definitely going to be able to remove that model. So that's kind of what I'm targeting that smaller beast, because I'm pretty sure I can remove him pretty trivially, and then I'm going to start swinging at the Cage Rager afterwards. So I'm going back and forth on the 2 of them just to make sure that they're getting hit. So Cage Rager is getting swung at, and I'm just going to be rolling some dice to remove him. And kind of what that is, I want to cripple a lot of his damage output as soon as possible, and remove as much of his ability to cast spells. So next what I'm doing is I activated Locke. Locke's going to pop her feet because I know next turn is going to be a big retaliation. So I end up doing enough to remove the Cage Rager. And then I should be... Yep, and then I also removed that other model as well. So next, Vulcan had the other two Toros that activated, and that was the end of my turn.
So I ended up losing quite a bit of my army. It was nice that I was able to activate All Fall Down before the rest of the army got to activate with that out of activation shot that he did. Right now, double checking that I can, if some of his models have any out of turn activations like counter charge or so, if I don't get screwed by it. If I remember correctly, we were checking a rule on somehow how two of them interacted with each other, but ended up finding out that neither one really affected each other. Unfortunately, my allergies did hit me like the night before this game, so it was not fully at the best of my game. Mostly thinking about how I can get this Vulcan out of my face. He does have a lot of boxes. It's a lot of meat to chew through. Hopefully I can send in with a Rattler, couple of Dread Rot Boys, and my Scam Moans. All with Manifest Destiny would help a lot in killing him. Trying to sabotage, hopefully do a few damage to his Jack that shot at the beginning of his last turn. Rattlers tend to be some of my favorite models. They can really eat through units left and right. I tend to do pretty well with them. I know some players don't like them too much. They rather have a Gorehound instead. Gorehounds are pretty nice, but I prefer the Rattlers. So with the Dreadrots, they were able to get in a couple points of damage. Charging Weapon Masters tend to do that. Just trying to swarm his Vulcan so that it can't really move around too much. Hopefully be able to give him a free strike when he activates later on. Lady Rose goes up and puts Enrage on the Scamones. Unfortunately, when the Scamones goes in, I can hit him for days, but as you can see, I'm pretty much just hitting him with toothpicks at this point. Only doing, I think the highest roll I had was a 5 for damage out of 6 attacks, so not looking too hot at the moment. Right now, just looking at if there's anything else I can do to stop this Vulcan from coming in from my right side and just tearing up the rest of my army. I'm not looking safe at all from him. Decided to just inch up my last 2 War Beasts to hopefully be able to charge in the following turn.
Alright, so round 3. So that was a really good turn for him. I've got a lot of things I need to do. So I have some models that need to move around. I've got Instability Equation, which is something I think I could really use, which is really, really awesome things, right? It's something that a Prospero can do, where he can cast on any model, doesn't have to be a model in his control, not Warjack under his control, and he can give them additional focus, as well as they can move facing. Downside is that they potentially could blow up. So that's kind of extra strategy I'm going to use for this next part. Vulcan is pretty beat up. Thankfully, I had popped my feet. I got a bunch of those tokens, and that allowed him to survive. I really think without that, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Other thing is, I forgot to use Road to War last turn. Kind of one of the things is, if you have never played in a faction that had Road to War, it's hard to remember it. So that's something for the future that I suggest everyone to, hey, make sure you are paying attention. So kind of right now I'm looking at like charges and stuff like that. I decided to switch the focus on the two of those jacks. I think the other jack can kind of charge in and do a much better job, kind of killing models. So I'm at this point I had given some focus out to that other Toro. Probably shouldn't have. Probably just should have kept one on him, and then instability equation both of them. Yeah, but unfortunately that's what had happened. I kind of threw out more focus than I should have. So now I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do. Vulcan, he has a -2 ability onto him, so -2 to his attack rolls. With the Suppressor could walk up and punch him with the Dispel because he is underneath Prospero. And by doing that, it would be really helpful because of the fact that I'd be able to remove that ability. This is an unfortunate thing I did. I had actually moved Prospero. I'm not exactly sure why I moved him. It's been a while since this game, but when I moved him, I actually did not activate him. So that was a mess up on my part. For the future, you guys watching that I should not have done that, and I do apologize. My opponent did. Throughout this, he was fine with it. I didn't move him anymore whenever I had activated him. So anyways, Prospero he activates. He's staying pretty close to all of the models around there, and the reason why he's staying so close is that I need to make sure that he is able to cast Instability Equation on those two jacks, because he ended up casting it on the one Toro, and he actually cast it on that second Toro as well. And then he also he needs to be within 8 inches of the Vulcan as well as the Suppressor, so that he can try to he can have Veteran Leader. So that Suppressor, he walks up, he goes and he sprays. He goes and sprays that model twice because he wants to try to lower his defense as much as possible. He lowers the defense. That's awesome for me. That means that I can actually go and get him. Unfortunately, I only do one spray. And then I get the second spray, so I'm really happy about that. So he's -4 defense. That's really, really good. It only makes him like a defense something super low. And with the Vulcan, he would be a 6. He drops down to a 4, and then he actually goes back up to a 5. Next, the unit of Crucible Guard. Not Crucible Guard, sorry. The Combat Alchemists, they activate. And he moves up. He goes and throws the last little thing onto that skin of Moans, gets him to 3, makes him stationary, and that is awesome. So now Vulcan actually does activate. Like I said, I turned him before, which I shouldn't have. But he starts killing things. He's starting to remove other models, and then he's going to start killing the skin of Moans. And really, as I'm doing that, I should have activated at least one Road to War. I think, yeah, I should have activated Road to War there. Did not, which is really dumb. Whenever I do the second Road to War, I finally look to, hey, let me go and move. But it was with my last attacks. So now that Toro actually runs up. He's going to walk forward, and he starts taking swings onto that Cage Raider. Cage Raider is really high armor. But hey, you know, it happens. I'm going to try to kill him. And then if I can't, I still have Locke available with a couple of jackhammers that'll allow me to go and potentially kill him again. I do run a risk of he could possibly blow up. I rolled though, and he did not blow up, which is really good for me. I'm really happy that he didn't blow up. But I did not do enough to kill him. So Locke now is going to have to walk up, and Locke is going to have to cast some spells to try to kill the Cage Raider. She had given 2 to Vulcan, 2 to the Toro, so she has 3 focus left to be able to cast some spells to kill things. Afterwards, I end up killing the Cage Raider, and then that other Toro, he got a Road to War. He goes and he charges. Sorry, he had moved up, and now he's going to go and charge that other model. So I'm spinning a focus point. He's charging forward, and he's going to start swinging. I do a lot of really good rolls, but on my last attack, I leave him with about 2 or 3 damage boxes left, which really stinks. My rolls were good. They were pretty strong, but they just weren't strong enough. But then I'm going to roll to see if he blows up, because I end up casting Instability Equation on both of them at the last minute, just because I really want to do some damage, right? Like, I might as well. My goal is to try to get rid of all of his beasts, or as much of his beasts as possible. So I actually cast it. He actually blows up, and I end up killing the skeleton moans and do a decent amount of damage to the other models. So that is actually really exciting, right? It makes it so like I can actually, kill some things. And because actually he had originally put out that large base model, but because their models all removed from play, he actually does not get that. Next, pretty much just Marc moved up, just trying to just get some models up and moving. The Dragon Breath rockets, they're just gonna throw out some shots, just to try to kill some models. Targeting the one on the side there because I'm killing him. And then kind of just moving everything up, just clean up some of my play. I really don't do a whole lot with the the Vindicator, because there's not too much I can do. I'm gonna still try to shoot because actually I do have it to where that model he's in melee, but it actually doesn't have a melee attack, so I can shoot things. He's pretty close. He's within the 8 inches, so I'm just gonna boost the attack roll. I'm gonna add extra fury to that one model over there. And other than that, not so much left for my turn. I'm actually pretty happy with how this has ended because I think I'm in a good spot.
So Polar Bear Cub was nice enough to let me put in a little Phantom. I did forget about it. I think I was just too happy that I was able to kill bottles at the start of my turn. The Gremlin Swarms are trying to do some damage to his jacks. Of course, it's not really an effective way with sabotage. Hopefully, usually they can take out one system. I was aiming to take out his gun this whole time. I tried to Abyssal Gate his jack. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with it. I just don't want it charging my caster on his following turn. I keep on hoping that the one Rattler is able to get close to his caster, but I believe I was like half an inch out or a whole inch out of reaching her. The Frightmare just said, hey, what the hell? Let's charge a Vulcan, see what we can do. Along with the Crabbit. He's not the brightest Crabbit of them all. As of now, it's just my goal to try and kill his Vulcan, as that thing has caused so much pain and suffering for my whole army. I think I ended up killing, I think it had like 20 boxes left by the end of our game. I'm mainly just trying to kill whatever I can. As you can see, this game is not going well for me at all. So I had looked at some of the Crucible Guard stuff. Not too much what Locke was able to do, mainly for like Gearheart. It did suck not being able to have my full list, especially being at Nova. I did end up forgetting it at my local game store the night before, and we had to leave at like 7 in the morning to get there, so they were not open. But I had been itching Polar Bear Cub to play a game with me for, I want to say, 7 years. Since about the time that he showed me, I've only played one game. That was a learning game with him. And I've been telling him that we need to play a game as soon as possible. Hopefully he'll give me another rematch to redeem myself. And as always, thanks for watching.